New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Hello and welcome back to Global Focus. Today I am Reverend Dr. Sharri Johnson, your host, and today we have a twofer. We have Reverend Doctors Steve and Abigail Albert of All Faith Center. Now let me tell you a little bit about them before I bring them on. Reverend Dr. Abigail in 1972 sailed in a 28-foot Columbia sailboat from Ventura, California through the Panama Canal to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I asked her if she would do it again, and she said no, she'd done that, didn't need to do it again. Secondly, she taught elementary school, first, second, third grades, kindergarten, for 20 years. She's been a practice grandma for all that time. And she has two beautiful, gorgeous granddaughters. I assured her there was no other kind. Peyton, who is almost 4, and Bailey, who's only 9 months old. Please help me welcome Reverend Dr. Abigail Albert. Thank you so much for saying yes. Now, hold on while I get Steve in here. Reverend Dr. Steve Albert is also with us today. He worked, and this is fascinating to me, with hypnotic regression for over 20 years. In high school, he was in gymnastics with a specialty in parallel bars, and he taught college for 25 years, teaching topics ranging from public speaking all the way to comparative religion. So he's got a wide base of knowledge. Please help me welcome Reverend Dr. Steve Albert. I am so tickled that y'all came because interfaith is so important to me, and y'all are interfaith. So, Abigail, tell us what wonderful new thing, the most recent new thing, other than Bailey, that has happened in the interfaith world since the last time y'all were here.
Wow. Well, I'm executive director of the Poway Interfaith team, and we lovingly call it Point because of the Poway is the P-O, the Interfaith I-N, and the T for team. So we call it Point, Points the Way. And we are always involved in either creating an event that will bring education about the faith traditions to the community, and also collaborating with many people, many different other organizations. In the past, we've done Harmony Breakfast. That's the World Harmony Week, designated by the United Nations. And so that Harmony Breakfast brings not just faith leaders, but community leaders, organization, the city, the fire, the police, and they all come together and we share breakfast. We share talk about in a conversation, a topic, and everybody leaves just with a better feel for each other and forming new friendships, which is really, really the key to interfaith, is forming a friendship with somebody that is not just like you. And so we do that, and we had a wonderful panel in June, and this panel had 5 different faith leaders, and they talked about, the theme was living from our essential goodness. So it was a beautiful talk with a rabbi, an imam, a New Thought minister, a Sikh, and a, let's see, I think that was it. And a Christian, I'm sorry, and a minister from the Christian tradition. And they all shared things that felt so good because, at the core of all of our religions, in that hub in the middle of the wheel, we all live from our essential goodness, and that means our essential godness. And I think that really came across to all the people in the audience that day, that they could see each of the different faith traditions similar to their own in so many ways. And it was just a blessing to have them speak. And what's coming up is we're collaborating now with the Poway Sheriff's Department for a national event, which goes through the whole country. All the sheriff's departments in the United States have a Faith in Blue event in October, and ours will be October 3rd. And so we're collaborating with them, bringing in our faith groups, bringing in the community, bringing in everybody else we can think of. But they are going to share all the resources that they have for the community, which is totally amazing. We'll have a helicopter fly in, because we're so blessed to have the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints be one of our point members. And on their expansive grounds, a helicopter can actually land. And we did this last year, and the families and the kids just loved hearing the officers talk about the helicopter and what they do. So they're coming. We've got SWAT teams coming. We've got search and rescue, crisis negotiation teams, bomb arson, the sheriff's canine dogs, crime labs, senior volunteer patrols, emergency corps, community emergency response team will be there. The Poway Fire Department. In fact, last year was so funny at our Harmony breakfast. We know our fire chief, Chief Jeff, said, "Why can't we be part of this?" So even though it's a sheriff's event, we have included, because we are an inclusive community, we have included the fire department. So the fire engines will be there. The fire horses will be there. It'll be a pretty spectacular event. And we're really...
That sounds outstanding.
Yeah, so that's coming up just next week. So we're really happy about that.
Well, all right, Steve, how are you going to top that?
You're welcome to come next week. Are you available, Sharri?
I would love to do that, but I'm going to be a little busy next week.
Oh, all right. So what's going on in my life? Is that what you'd like to know?
That's the next thing, yes.
In 2005, when we began the interfaith team, that started off with about 5 different faiths, including New Thought, and has grown into 18 different faith communities. We never expected, I guess if we would have expected, we would have loved to have all these people working together and doing these wonderful conferences and everything. But to have it happen in this large an event where we're bringing in the police and the fire and the city council, and they all want the same thing. They want peace. They want happiness. They want people to live together and stop the hate and stop the fighting, and to learn about each other to the point where they can actually support one another as well as respect. And so for me, all of my, I have 22 books, and 10 of them are interfaith. And those interfaith books show that it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't, if you look at the basis of each of the religions, the basis is the same. And in fact, in my latest book, I made the example of, if you take the avatars of all the different faiths and you look at what they teach, and at the same time notice that none of them existed at the same time. The thesis being that one soul was in each of the avatars, appearing throughout history in the faith, teaching the same stuff.
Exactly. And what I love about what y'all are doing is that it's not just Sunday. You are bringing people together to see how they can support each other by being on Monday through Saturday what they learned on Sunday. No matter what it was they learned or on Saturday in a couple of cases. But that you're taking spirituality and stretching it out through the whole week instead of just soaking it up on Sunday and letting the rest of the week take care of itself. The idea of having the police and the fire departments and the search and rescue people all together talking about here's how we support each other. Here's how we be together as a community. And some of us have red hair, and some of us are Baptists, and some of us have brown eyes, and some of us are Buddhist, and some of us have long legs, and some of us are short. It doesn't matter. We're a community. That is just so powerful to me.
Yeah, and let me just say that with this particular event, I mean, our community, I think most communities really don't know what the police and the sheriff's department actually do other than stop you for a ticket. So this is a fabulous way to reach out and show there's other things that they do. They're in service. I think we need to remember our police, sheriffs, and sheriff's department are in service to the community. And, in every organization, 99% are doing their job beautifully, and maybe 1% not so much. And that's what we hear about in the news. And that's what people focus on. So it's important to rethink and relearn about what they really do for the community. And I think this is really important. And it's not just police and fire, but when we have interfaith events, to really learn about other people. Like once you learn about somebody, that fear dissipates and friendship begins. And that's really our one of our goals, is that the fear dissipates and the friendship begins. And I feel like we've made so many beautiful friends, not just in the faith communities, but like I say, the sheriff's department, the fire department. In fact, we know them; they become friends. In fact, we had a palm tree that needed to be taken down, and nobody was going to take it down. Not this organization, not that, not the person that owned the land, nobody, but it was a fire hazard right next to a wire that we could see it just going zap, and there's the wire and there's the fire, right? So Steve called our friend Jeff and said, Jeff, there's a tree there that's going to be a hazard to our community. And so they immediately went out to check it out and said, yep. 2 days later, it was down. See, that's how friendships happen when you build a sense of trust with people and they take you seriously. It's really important. So it's important to make friendships with everybody in your community. It's just it just helps to benefit the whole society.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the wonderful aspects of having those beautiful granddaughters is that you get to teach them these kinds of things. And what I know, because I've known you for a while, is that you were teaching the short folks before you had grandchildren of your own. And the event that's coming up with the firemen and the helicopter and everything, you mentioned that the children are included. And I love that you are showing them by example, because how do they learn except by watching the tall people around them? Right. And you are showing them by example that who we are is the same no matter what day of the week it is, no matter whether we're working or playing or going to church.
Right.
And I just love that. That just makes my heart sing. Thank you.
And the other major factor is we're not even talking about faith. We're talking about normal living. We're talking about your community. What is it like to walk through a neighborhood and see things that need to be corrected? And it doesn't matter what background you have, you know that those things need to be done. It's like eating and drinking and driving and going to work and whatever. It doesn't matter what your background is. You just do what is yours to do. And
So basically, you're telling them that their faith is not a coat they put on Sundays; it's part of who they are.
Yeah.
And that's true, no matter what that faith is.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I've taught since around 1982 is about personality styles, and that there's many. In fact, right now there's about almost 30 different programs in the United States on personalities. The fact is, it doesn't matter what faith you are. Your personality of being very effusive and very talkative and very is different than someone who is more shy, more quiet. Someone who will go out of their way to help someone and has to help someone, or they don't feel that they've done enough, is different than someone who's in charge of a major corporation or company that says, just give me the bottom line. I don't want to hear any more. And once we realize that all of those different personalities exist in every faith, every religion, every group, every family, until we realize that they're different than us. They're not as good as us. Oh, look how they do this, do that. So I think most of our work has more to do with person-to-person information.
Yeah.
Who we are as a person and how we help our neighbor, whether it's from faith background or not.
Right. I love that. And Abigail, you've been doing some new things also, haven't you?
Well, actually, the new thing is to help the event get off the ground. But I'm also working with a team on putting together our interfaith Thanksgiving service coming up in November. And again, it's a service with people of all faith traditions sharing. And we decided this year our theme would be grateful connections, sharing stories about unexpected friendships. So we talked about how very often a person will come into our life that seems so different than us. And somehow we formed a bond and a connection. And it was one of those unexpected friendships that meant so much to us in our lives that may have either been our tipping point and pointed us in a different direction or made us rethink something about a person or people or organization or whatever. And so how did this affect us? So we're going to have speakers from all the different faiths talk about their unexpected friendships. And we love stories. So we're going to have stories, and we're going to, everyone's going to get a friendship bracelet, and there'll be a ceremony with the friendship bracelets. And so we're working on that. That's coming up for us also in November 20th.
Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday.
Yeah,
I love Thanksgiving.
It's exactly one. And luckily, I believe we'll be able to, it won't be quite live streaming, but it will be on the church's website, their Facebook. So people who can't come cross country can still do the whole thing. So it'll be fun. But I think another thing Steve needs to talk about is Interfaith Awareness Week, because that is a huge yearly event. And Steve works on it all year long. So I don't know.
And what week is that?
Second week in August.
Second week in August.
I
just missed it.
Yeah, we just had it.
And it began in 2017 when we had a NAIN conference here. We had about 250 people from 20 different faiths interacting for 5 days, and it was just wonderful. But before the conference began, we went to the city mayors of all the different counties here in San Diego and said, we would like your city to be part of this Interfaith Awareness Week. And we had 14 mayors whose city council said, yes, during that week, we will make the emphasis to respect and honor all people of all faiths, of all backgrounds, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, I've got double-decker God bumps. That is so cool.
So we continued that the following year and the following year. And even through COVID, we did things online. Well, now we just finished the 8th year. And we had 32 presentations on 7 days. I was available from 8 a.m. till 7:30 p.m., 7 days. They were from all over the world, from Bangladesh and India and Canada and United States, Mexico, everywhere. I think there was even some cities I can't pronounce. And the beauty was that they were showing what their interfaith organizations do. And all of a sudden you learned about people who were working with children and introducing interfaith ideas, working with adults that had troubles in one way or another. It was so beautiful. And there was, of those 32 presentations, they were all 90 minutes. So between each presentation, you got the chance to go take a drink of water, have lunch, come back, and then do it again.
Yeah.
On and on for 7 days.
I'm surprised you can even talk.
My voice is just getting back.
Well, thank you. I mean, that's like the Parliament of World Religions in miniature. That's just astounding.
Absolutely. That's really true. It really is true.
Yeah.
And you got to rest now because it's only a couple of weeks until the Anton Retreat. And you're going to be doing a workshop at the Anton Retreat that I really want you to talk about because that just fascinates me.
Well, with all my work with interfaith, I have always been fascinated with past life regression.
Sorry.
And I started working with past life regression in the 1970s. Somebody taught me about self-hypnosis, and then I just took it to the next step. And the idea is that what I will be presenting is that our soul never dies. It has been here since the beginning of time, and that soul is God. And as God, that soul never dies and continues on from one period to the next, bringing with it the mistakes and the positive things that we learned from the time before. And I know for myself personally that I knew about New Thought 20 years before I ever heard the words New Thought. I was brought up in a Jewish home, got bar mitzvahed at 13, and then I started reviewing other faiths. And I went to the rabbi and I said, I'd like to learn more about the mystical side of Judaism, the Kabbalah. And he said to me, saying to a 14, 15-year-old boy, no, you can't.
Why not?
Now, the emphasis was that in the old times, by the time you reached 40, you were pretty close to death. You had been schooled, you had gotten married, you had your children, you were done. And then you had nothing else to do. You could study the Kabbalah. Well, this Jewish boy said to the rabbi, "Hi, see you," and I left the synagogue. And I began to study the different faiths, finding out over and over and over again that many of them saying the same things, and the mystical side of the different religions, the Sufis, the Kabbalists, the different parts of religion that looked into the deeper ends were the same. They were all the same. And so that brought me into meditation. Now, Judaism didn't teach me meditation. I gathered meditation through the different religious practices, and then on until I accidentally went into a Unity church in Chicago. It was on a business trip, and I didn't want to go, but the guy who asked me to go with him said he'd pay for lunch. So I thought that was worth going. And I sat there, having spent 20 years doing meditation, affirmation, everything that we know about in New Thought. And this man stands up on the podium and starts repeating the things that I've been teaching. Who the heck are you? Did you read my book? I mean, what? And I went to him afterwards, and he said, this is what unity is about. This is what New Thought is about. And I said, I need to know more. He said, well, you're on a business trip. Where are you from? I said, San Diego. He says, well, go back to San Diego and look up a minister, Reverend Wendy Craig Purcell. Okay. So a couple Sundays later, I sat in the back row, closest to the door, and this young woman got up at the podium, and she spoke the same words that the other minister did. She did a meditation the way I do meditations, not taking it into past lifetimes. She presented things in a way that I went up to her and I said, who the heck are you? Well, I was with Wendy for 10 years before I met Abigail. And then Abigail and I began our New Thought Church. And then a few years into we began interfaith. And then we spent all of our time until even now with interfaith activities. So that's my whole story. You've heard everything. What else do you need?
You know, what's wonderful about that is that you didn't say, I did this, and then I stopped doing that, and I did this, and then I stopped doing that, and I did this, and I stopped. You said, I did this, and then I grew it out to here, and then I grew it out to here, and then I grew it out to here. And what do you want me to do next? Well, obviously, grow it out to here. It's a never-ending thing that I believe is the essence of New Thought, is that we never stop growing. That's the main difference between New Thought and everything else, is that there's no lid.
And you know what's interesting is, if you had asked me when I was 13, 14 years old, what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, certainly the last thing would be a New Thought minister. I didn't even know what New Thought was. I was Jewish, of course, and so I couldn't be a minister.
But God had other plans.
Yeah, that's it. Our soul plans out what we're going to do, not just in this lifetime, but in the next lifetime. And the
I
next thing,
absolutely believe in that. I call it a soul contract. And I think that we all make soul contracts before we come into our bodies. And not just a contract between us and God. I'm talking we decide what we're going to learn. Have you ever read Neil Donald Walsh's Little Soul in the Sun?
Oh, yes.
Yes. We decide what it is we want to learn, and then we make contracts with the souls that are able to help us learn that. And then we all go into bodies and forget everything we contracted, and then life conspires to bring us all back to there again. Now, we got a great story of how Steve got into New Thought, but Abigail, we don't know how you got here.
Oh, my goodness. Well, first of all, I told God no. I said, never stepping into a church again, God. That's it. I was involved in a variety of Protestant denominations up until my divorce with my first husband. Steve is my second. And better the second time around, I tell you. So
practice makes better.
Absolutely. So anyway, after the divorce, I said to myself, well, I don't want to go back to the church I was just in because I know my ex was going there. I'm just going to church hop for a while. So I did around, because I lived in Newport Beach, California for a number of years, and I was there. So I went to a variety of different churches because there were a lot of them. And I kept coming away with this, oh, really? It felt stifling, to be honest with you, stifling. There was no room for other people, whatever the other is. And we know there's no other. So that I just didn't feel like I could find my home. And I think the last place I went, I don't know. I just felt stifled. I said, that's it. Not going. So I was driving home, and my daughter was so tired of going to different churches. She says, this is it for me too, Mom. So I'm at the stop sign and coming home, and I said, okay, God, this is it. I'm never going to step into a church again. Ever. Ever. I am done, finished, kaput. You got it. So I thought I was done. I felt very good about myself, very confident. That's it. So, but I was still a metaphysical reader. I read all these metaphysical books, which I loved, and none of that was being incorporated into, I've got to get rid of this phone call, into the churches that I was going to. So anyway, a week later, maybe not even a week, because this was on a Sunday. So I think I got this little postcard about Wednesday or Thursday, and a little postcard in the mail. Probably just sent it out to everybody in Newport Beach, right, saying that there was going to be a conference. Oh. I'm so sorry. It's going to be a conference, not a conference, but a workshop on reincarnation. Well, I was fascinated with reincarnation. I was reading a lot of Shirley MacLaine and Gary Zukav and just a whole bunch of metaphysical people. So I said, well, I want to go to that. That's not church. That's not Sunday service. But it happened to be in a New Thought church. So I went to the Saturday seminar, and it was a couple that gave it. And I was just blown away, fascinated, loved every minute of it. Not only loved the seminar workshop, but the people that were there were so fun, friendly, and kind. And one sweet lady, her name was Dolly, and she always liked to think of herself as, hello, Dolly, one of those sweet little old lady, said, here, I want to give you a book. And I don't remember what the book was, but it was right up my alley, metaphysical readings. And I took it and I read it. And I said, okay, I'm going to go one Sunday. One. So I went the next day, and the sweet little lady, Dr. Winella Evans, who eventually became my mentor, gave her talk, and I'm looking at her. I was practically in tears because she was talking. I'm already getting filled up. She was talking to me about how my being is worthy. I am a God being. I'm good. I'm worthy. God loves me. I'm not a sinner. I'm not going to be thrown in hell because I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing. It was just so beautiful. And I walked out, and she's a very intuitive lady, more than intuitive. She really has the gift. And I said, thank you so much. I said, you spoke to me. Every word you said filled me up. She said, I'll see you next week.
Okay, so basically what you're telling me
Hmm?
is that both of you said no thanks to a specific religion,
Mhm.
and now you have said yes please to every religion there is.
That's it. That's basically it.
That's
And
a
new
pretty
thought,
cool trip.
and new thought is our, this is where we come back to. This is our grounding. And from new thought, we were able to, as Ernest Holmes said, be open at the top. We were able to be open at the top and listen and learn from all the different faith traditions about what they believe. And that's where I could say, I believe that, and I believe that, and I believe that, because I became open at the top. I found a tradition, a faith tradition that opened me up.
And here's the thing,
And be.
not only are you open at the top, because that's why trees are so cool, is because trees are always growing, they're always open at the top. That's my symbol for new thought, is that it's a tree. But what makes it possible for a tree to grow like that is that for every sprout that goes out up also goes down roots.
Yes.
And the roots of trees are not separate from one another.
No,
they communicate with each other.
Below surface.
So that's where the interfaith thing happens. The new thoughts, the growth up, and the interfaith things, the growth down. That is just so blinking cool.
And you can, and that's a beautiful metaphor, because you can realize that every tree, when I look outside, there's a variety of trees, right? So there's a variety of religions, but when you get to the roots, the root is the same. That's where God is.
Yeah.
And all faith traditions have roots in God. And there's our connection. There's our oneness. There's where we are.
Okay, now that's the best intro I've ever had for my 5 questions.
Oh.
There's 5 questions I ask everybody.
Okay.
And I'll ask you I'll ask Abigail one, and then Steve, and then I'll ask Steve one, and then Abigail. So you go back and forth. So you both get to answer them yourselves.
Okay.
But the first one is probably the one that's the most important to you, and that is there anything that you want to be sure our listeners, our viewers know that I haven't asked you about?
I think I would like all the listeners to realize that we are each here on this earth to grow and learn from each other. And that means opening our hearts to people who look different than us, because in reality, they are not. And so I am you, and you are me, and we are one.
Cool beans. Okay, Steve, your turn. Anything you want folks to know that I haven't asked you about?
I think you've touched on it, but I want to emphasize that we come into this world to make it better, not just for ourselves, but for a group of people that we will experience and re-experience, and perhaps even more, and that even our exes, the people that we no longer care to talk about in our previous years during this lifetime, that even they were there for a major reason.
Right.
Yep. Okay, so you get first dibs on the next question.
Uh-oh.
So, and we're talking about the Interfaith Center and you, Steve, how you do what you do, how you be what you be. How does that contribute to, encourage, support, enhance conscious evolution?
The importance to me is that by being aware of what we need to do and then actually doing it, that we become an example for everyone else. I was told, no, you can't do that, more times than I would ever want to emphasize. In fact, I think you even have a copy of my book that's Ignore the No. Don't let anybody else stop you from doing what you believe in your heart. And I think that all that we do is because we believe it so deeply that God, presence, we're here for a reason. Move ahead and do what you're supposed to do. I don't know if that answered the question, but
It's a really good start, I think.
okay.
Abigail, take a shot at it.
Conscious evolution. Well, I think everybody on this earth planet is in conscious evolution because there is no stopping the God consciousness that started from the Big Bang theory. There's Big Bang, whatever that Big Bang was, we all are here now, and we are continually evolving. We can't not evolve. So whether we think we're consciously making a difference in the world, we really are. We can either choose to make it in a negative way or a positive way. So I choose to make it in a positive way. So I want to keep my consciousness to the place where I am open, that I listen, and when I am more open and listening, I know that particular energy is going out and helping other people be more open, be more listening to other people. So it's like a pebble in the pond. It's a ripple effect. So we can make a choice to really do the work in our own consciousness, to be open, receptive, choose to be with people that are different than us, and love them and enjoy their friendships and learn. That's conscious evolution, because then we're going to keep moving forward on our spiritual path. Does that answer the question?
It does indeed. Okay, now the next question, Abby is up. The next question sounds like the same one, but it's a little different.
Okay.
How does what you do and how you do it, how you be who you are, how does that support, enhance, encourage, unveil, pick your own verb, world peace?
Well, I think that my own consciousness is one of peace. I prefer to be with people that I can serve, work with, be with on a purposeful level. I don't believe I came, and I love them dearly. I didn't come in to be an activist a social activist. And I admire them greatly, but I don't have the inner stuff for that. I have the inner stuff to do something else. They came in to do the social activism for peace. I came in to do peaceful work by reaching out to other people from different faith traditions and say, how can we get together and share what you know and are to the community, so we have a safer community, so we don't have graffiti on the walls of the mosques and the synagogues? How can we help our public know more through education? Because I really believe I came in to be an educator. I know that I told my third grade teacher, I'm going to be a teacher when I grow up. I came in to be a teacher. So the more I keep myself peaceful, the more peaceful education and teacher I can be with and for others.
I'll take it.
Okay.
I like that. Okay, Steve, your turn. World peace.
Well, it's really interesting that we were born into this life to do what we're doing. For example, when I was 16, my high school college counselor had all the students come in one by one, say, what are you going to do after you graduate? And I said, I'm going to be an architect. And the woman told me, no, you can't be. And I said, I'm going to be an architect. She said, you're a very good draftsman. I know you've got this and that, but you only have a B- average. Architects need A average, like surgeons. And I said, I don't care. I'm going to be an architect. She said, no, you won't. Well, I was an architect for 25 years. And not only, she said, you're not college material, Steve. Well, I've got 3 college degrees. And I taught college for 25 years. The idea that anybody limits us, our consciousness takes over and says, no, I'm not going to let you. I'm not going to let that happen. And as I said earlier, I love it when somebody is telling me, you'll never do that. And that's really what Interfaith Awareness Week became. It's global. It's global. I created a global, and it wasn't just me, it was a number of people, but I put a lot of energy into it, that people from around the world learn about each other. Anyway.
Well, that sounds pretty peaceful to me. Okay, here's the next one. Now you have to close your eyes for this one. And Steve goes first because you're going to use your imagination. We are presuming that every single thing for the next 10 years goes exactly the way you want it to go. Every event, every encounter, every relationship, every learning, everything in your whole life goes exactly the way you want it to go. What does Steve Albert and Interfaith Center, Interfaith Truth, Interfaith Experience, what does that look like 10 years from now?
Okay. I think I've already reached that. I am so thrilled with what Interfaith Awareness Week has become. I am so thrilled with what Abigail and I are able to do in the community, that if my soul knocked on the door and said, hey, we're getting out of here today, I'd feel like I had already done what you've asked. I'm thrilled that I've made a difference in some people's lives, many people who I'll never meet. Somebody read my book, or somebody heard me talk, or somebody just saw something that I did and said, oh, I can do that too. Whatever example I can become, I think I've at least reached a level of satisfaction at this point.
Wow. That's not an answer I've ever gotten before. I'm rarely speechless, but wow. Okay, Abigail, go ahead. Take a shot at that.
Well, I have to say a little bit of a ditto on this one. If you had asked me that question 10 or maybe 20 years ago, I had goals, right? Right now, 10 years from now, what I would like to do as a progression is to continue doing what I'm doing. And as Sweet Jeannie Sweet says, and more, please, God. She always says that, and more, please, God. Whatever God has ready for me, but I know God is internal, but there's that soul that knows. And like you said, Sharri, earlier, we step into this earth life not knowing. We have to make our path, but our soul already knows what we're to do. So I am wanting to be open and receptive to any new ideas that come my way. because I want to step into that. I love what I do. I love being executive director of the Poway Interfaith team. I absolutely love it. In fact, our president said to me, he says, Abigail, you're a virtual command post here. Because I love doing it. I love to be on the detail end of creating something. I love to create something. And I'm at the beginning and the detail. Steve is out there. When given a choice, if we have somebody say, okay, would one of you do a Sunday talk? I'll say, sure, Steve will. No, I'm serious. But I do my own share. But if somebody asks me, of course I will. But I just want to, whatever the next step is in my spiritual evolution, as we go back to what we said before, I'm open and receptive to it. And I will just say to God, and more, please. So I want to be open and receptive to anything new, because right now I can't think of anything. But the God Spirit in me knows what's new, and I'm open to that.
All righty. I'll take it. Okay, last question, and you can answer this one together. Will you come back?
Sure.
Well, the first opening I have is September 2nd of next year. Can I plug you in?
I'm sure you can. I don't have anything going on September 2nd.
I will send you an email to remind you. Thank you both so much for saying yes to today. I'm so grateful, and I'm just madly in love with you. And I want to let everybody know that next week, Reverend Dr. Charles, next week is Reverend Dr. Charles Geddes from Mind Your Own Becoming. Interesting name, don't you think? Mind Your Own Becoming. He's wonderful and delightful, and you're going to love him. You don't want to miss it. I'll see you then. Have a great weekend, and don't forget that I love you. Bye-bye.
Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things.
On behalf of everyone at New Thought Media Network, thank you for being a member of our virtual family. Your financial contributions help share the New Thought message with people from around the world. Please visit and contribute at www.ntmedia.org/donate. New Thought Media Network, come be you. And please like, share, and subscribe. Until